Being the time is 5 p.m., I will call this regular meeting of the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board for May 21st, 2025 to order. Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Alper. Commissioner Forney.
Here.
Commissioner Menz.
Here.
Commissioner Olson.
Here.
Commissioner Rucker.
Here.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Here.
Commissioner Thompson.
Here.
Vice President Musich. President DeBenny.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. The agenda is before us. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Also move.
Second.
And I'd like to,
So is there any discussion?
yes, I'd like to amend the agenda.
Okay, to add a staff resolution?
Thank you so much. Yes.
Okay, we have a motion to amend the agenda. All those in favor? And is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of amending the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Great, that item is added, but now we need to approve the agenda, so any more discussion about the agenda?
I think we still have to add, did we add?
That's the resolution.
sorry,
Yes. Any more discussion about the agenda? Seeing none? Commissioner Forney, okay, yep. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The agenda's approved. We will add that resolution to the consent items. Okay, the superintendent is here. We have one set of minutes. Would somebody please move the minutes and read the date?
I will move the minutes of May 7th, 2025.
Is there-
Second.
I hear a second
Second,
from
yes.
Commissioner Thompson. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approval of the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. I'll note that Vice President Musich has joined us. And with that, we will move to the reports of officers, and I'll ask the superintendent to take it away.
All right, thank you, President Benny and Commissioners. This is a shorter report of officers and specific to an update that I would give to the board on youth sports leagues and centralized registration. So this is that report, and I will just go through these bullet points here. The spring-summer youth sports registration has been a success, with 2,233 participants across baseball, softball, track, and flag football. Track participation reached 475, surpassing the ideal number by 75 due to time constraints during meets, a very positive challenge. Several parks previously without teams in certain sports formed teams for the first time, making a significant expansion of our program. The majority of participants were placed in one of their top 3 park choices. Those not placed in their preferred park were assigned to the nearest alternative. We are working with our software company to report exact numbers on this, which we will get to you. While the new centralized registration system presented some initial challenges, as we expected it would, they are being addressed to enhance the process. So we're working very hard at making sure that we, as we run into kind of any difficulties, staff and our partners are really working through them well. The primary goal was to ensure every registrant was placed on a team, which was successfully achieved. So we're very excited about that. Looking ahead, fall youth sports registration will begin on Wednesday, May 21st. I know it seems early, but we have to start early at that time, so May 21st, which of course is today. Building on insights gained from the spring-summer season, we plan to run reports twice a week and provide coaching certification materials promptly. This proactive approach will ensure coaches are prepared and can communicate with their teams immediately upon assignment, enhancing the experience for both coaches and participants. These measures aim to streamline the registration process and further improve the quality of our youth sports program. So, President Benny and Commissioners, I bring positive news, and we will continue to update the board as we start getting more specifics around data, but things are going very well. Thank you very much. Any questions, we are available.
Yeah, thank you. Are there questions for the superintendent? Commissioner Menz?
I do have one question. Sorry I didn't submit this before to you, Superintendent Bangora. So I noticed that in the league, we currently for the spring season, and this was not in the resolution, we don't have any of those pre-formed teams or like some of the groups that we've had in the past. Has there been work around trying to make sure that those teams did have an opportunity to be in that league and maybe they opted out this time?
Yep. President Benny, Commissioner Menz, sorry, thank you. Yes, I don't have the specifics on that. I know Mr. Director Bartz is not here, or even if Assistant Superintendent Kolb could answer that question. But I do know, as I sat in the rooms, the meetings with them, that we were very intentional about getting them involved in spring sports. And so I know we were very proactive in that. I'm not sure on every team that got in or what specifics were on it, but I do know those conversations we had with those teams were clear about getting them engaged and involved, and we did everything that they needed for us to kind of make sure that they were participating. So I know that that was a positive, but I can get specific as far as numbers or how many teams got in, or if there was any kind of concerns on them entering the program, but I do know we had those conversations.
Yeah, I think the tightened timeframe and, you know, the change, but
And I
I
think
just wanted to make
Assistant
sure that we're reaching out and making sure that we're
Yeah.
maintaining those relationships.
Yes, and then Assistant Superintendent Kolb.
President Abeni, Commissioner Mentz, as you know, this first round of centralized registration was just participants and not preformed teams, but we did reach out to all of the preformed teams and offered to help, and I think we helped with some of them to get kids to their local park and register so that their exact team didn't come into the league for this spring and summer. But in the fall is where we've agreed to have a separate league of preformed teams through centralized registration. So that's, we can have them do a search to see, but it might have to be done by hand to find out what kids were on said preformed team and came into the park and participated. But I know, like for an example, Phelps, they did, got all of their kids to come register together. And then more than likely we're on, a lot of them were on the team, maybe with some other kids from the neighborhood as well. But that was how we did this spring, summer season because of the timeline that was involved.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay.
That's perfect.
Thank you. Other questions for the superintendent? Okay, thank you. Now we'll go ahead and move to reports of appointees to outside boards, commissions, or committees. I don't see any lights. I have a report. The Board of Estimate and Taxation meeting, there was a meeting last Wednesday, and at that meeting, we approved the hiring of the new BET Executive Secretary. That's what they're calling the position. Her name is Christina Keiderling, and she started the next day. So she'll be a resource for the Board of Estimate and Taxation members of the board, to maybe get more information as we move more into the budget cycle and things like that. So with that, we'll move on. We can move into the consent agenda, and we've added one item to the consent agenda. So would somebody move the consent agenda as a slate, or does anybody want to pull anything? Commissioner Forney.
I'd like to pull the resolution recognizing and thanking Mimi Kelb for discussion.
Okay. Would somebody move the remainder of the consent items?
Yes, I would like to move the remainder of the consent items.
Second. A second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of removing the non-pulled consent items as a slate, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Would somebody please move the item pulled, please?
I'd be happy to move resolution recognizing and thanking Mimi Kelb for her years of dedicated service to the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board, and for her invaluable contributions, unwavering commitment, and tireless devotion to the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. Whereas the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board was created on April 3rd, 1883, by an act of the Minnesota State Legislature. Whereas Mimi Kelb began her career with the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board, MMPRB, on June 25th, 2001, not Space Odyssey, and after almost 24 years of dedicated service, is retiring. Wow, choked me up. Whereas a result of her exceptional abilities, continued diligent and innovative work, Mimi advanced to positions of increasing responsibility, including Manager of Community Services, Manager of Athletic Programs and Facilities, Director of Athletic Programs and Aquatics, Director of Athletics, Aquatics, and Ice Arenas, Director of Youth and Recreation Centers and Programs, and Assistant Superintendent for Recreation. Whereas Mimi has served under 5 different superintendents and numerous elected officials, and has consistently demonstrated her commitment to the mission and goals of the organization and the Recreation Division.
Whereas Mimi has been a trusted and dedicated public servant who has performed her duties at a very high standard and has demonstrated untiring dedication to serving the diverse and changing needs of the citizens of Minneapolis throughout her tenure, including during the 2020-2021 and worldwide COVID pandemic. Whereas Mimi has made lasting contributions to the organization and community, including the growth of youth and adult sports, development of the coaches certification program and the youth sports team sponsorship program, restructuring aquatics and ice arena programs and staffing, launching wraparound pool, park to school services and therapeutic recreation services, and implementation of the $2.6 million youth investment initiative with the creation of new positions and hiring of 20 additional staff. Whereas Mimi has been a leader in recreation and was integral to the development, staffing, and programming of several new facilities, including the Neiman Athletic Complex, Jim Lupian Water Park, Phillips Aquatic Center, Weber Natural Swimming Pool, multiple athletic field renovations, and the recent Spark Studios. Whereas Mimi worked closely with recreation employees and with employees in every department and division during her tenure at the MPRB, always valuing the contributions of each and every MPRB employee, treating employees fairly and with respect.
Whereas Mimi continually reviewed, analyzed, and revised the Recreation Division's processes, activities, and structure to expand and improve service delivery and ensure the needs of the community and the organization were met. Whereas Mimi was always fiscally responsible, implementing a variety of Recreation Division cost-saving measures and successfully soliciting significant grants for youth sports equipment, swim lesson scholarships, and other recreation initiatives. And whereas Mimi worked collectively with partners at the City of Minneapolis, Minneapolis Public Schools, Minnesota Twins, Minnesota Vikings, University of Minnesota, and other local organizations to expand recreation services for youth. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board of Commissioners recognizes and thanks Mimi Kalb for her years of dedicated service to the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board and for her invaluable contributions, unwavering commitment, and tireless devotion to the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. Is there a second?
Second.
Yay! Is there
Thank you, Mimi.
Is there any discussion? Vice President Musich.
Thank you, President Benny. I've been a park commissioner for quite some time now, and Mimi has been just such a great partner in teaching me about the organization, not just in recreation, but how the whole organization works together. And that sort of mentorship is hard to come by sometimes. So I'm just very thankful with all the time that you've shared with me and all of my colleagues to help us be more effective in the roles that we're performing on behalf of the people of Minneapolis. So thank you.
Commissioner Forney.
Thank you. It is with great sadness, but also with great delight, your retirement, Mimi. My first year as commissioner, we had the opportunity to go to Greater and Greener in San Francisco. Sorry, Mimi. Anyway, and it was the first time Wilderness Inquiry was bringing their Voyager canoes to the Pacific coast. Anyway, and so we had the opportunity to paddle in one of their Voyager canoes, and I was in the bow, yay. And we were under the Golden Gate Bridge, and Mimi's behind me and Sharina, and Mimi's kind of freaking out. Being in that huge body of water. It's like, you're the director of aquatics? She said, pools. I like pools, Meg. Anyway, I just cannot thank you enough. Your warmth has always radiated. I've always so enjoyed being with you, playing with you, and I just wish you the greatest in your retirement. Best wishes.
Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you. I, too, would like to echo what Commissioner Musich said, although I don't have a fun story of, I mean, I don't know how many people do kayaking under the Golden Gate Bridge, but I can say that Assistant Superintendent Caleb has been very, very patient and lovely in instructing me on many different aspects of this organization, and I've been very grateful for the kind of random things that have come up over these years that I've been able to go to her, and she's helped me to talk through whether it's the history or just how it echoes into different things that the organization used to do. And I feel like I've learned just an immense amount, and that is very easy to come by with someone in the person of Mimi Kalb. So thank you for your person. Thank you.
Commissioner Menz?
Congratulations, Mimi. I'm so happy. So I met Mimi before I was a commissioner, and we worked together with me as a community organizer and her as whichever of the many roles that she has played in recreation over the years. And I think it's really, what I've always been struck by with Mimi is her professionalism. You know, her job is not easy. She's got a lot of people who think that certain things, and she always has to kind of negotiate that community versus park board relationship. And I think it's difficult. And I want to understand and make sure that people understand the professionalism that Mimi has employed in those relationships is always so calming and authentic and really serves the park board. And I think that, you know, we're losing someone who is in deep service to this organization. But I wish her well as she retires and hangs out a little bit more at the Bloomington parks and maybe comes back and sees us a little bit in our parks. So thanks, Mimi.
Thank you. I guess I don't see other lights. Okay, and but I would just say thank you. You know, for all people who work at this organization are working in public service, and that's a big deal. And people that work in public service tend to work really hard and all kinds of day and night, all around the clock. And your public service, your area that you've chosen to work in public service, is an area of real impact on kids. My own kids used a lot of recreation and programs in your area, and they had a blast. That's what they would say. Everything that they did at the parks was just a blast. So thank you for your leadership and creating a really good vibe and all your service, and I hope you have a fantastic time in retirement. So with that, we can go ahead and take this resolution to a vote. All those in favor of this resolution for Mimi Kalb, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. And with that, okay. We'll go ahead and move to reports of standing committees, and I'll go ahead and turn to the chair of the planning committee to bring forward a couple of items. And
Sorry. Okay. On behalf of the Planning Committee, I'd like to move Resolution 2025-81, resolution approving a 16-month license agreement with Minneapolis Health Department for the installation and maintenance of an air sensor at Farview Park and waiver of license fees.
is there a second?
Second.
I heard Commissioner Thompson seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing no lights, Secretary, will you please take the roll?
Commissioner Alper.
Aye.
Commissioner Forney.
Aye.
Commissioner Menz.
Aye.
Commissioner Olson.
Aye.
Commissioner Rucker.
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Aye.
Vice President Musich.
Aye.
President DeBenny.
Aye.
You have 9 ayes.
Thank you. That
No
carries.
I'll move Resolution 2025-82, resolution approving a 16-month license agreement with the Minneapolis Health Department for installation and maintenance of an air sensor at 3104 Pacific Street located within Above the Falls Regional Park and waiver of license fees.
Second.
I heard a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing no lights, Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Alper,
Aye.
Commissioner Forney,
Aye.
Commissioner Menz,
Aye.
Commissioner Olson,
Aye.
Commissioner Rucker,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Vice President Musich,
Aye.
President Abeni.
Aye.
You have 9 ayes.
Thank you, that carries.
On behalf of the Administration and Finance Committee, I would like to move Resolution 2025-73. Resolution concurring with the City of Minneapolis' assignment of Awamni Okadeapi as designee under the Water Resources Development Act of 2020 and as articulated in an exclusive rights agreement and declaration of continued public commitment and approving a cooperative agreement between the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board and Awamni Okadeapi as appended to the exclusive rights agreement.
Second?
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Resolution 2025-73, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries.
I would actually like to ask Vice Chair Schaefer to move the next resolution since it's doubly in her district.
Thank you. I'd like to move Resolution 2025-93, resolution amending the 2021 and 2022 capital improvement program to reallocate $275,000 in the neighborhood capital levy funds from the Mall Park to Sioux Line Gardens.
Second.
I heard Commissioner Thompson seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing no lights, all those in favor of Resolution 2025-93, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Okay, we have a little bit of time. We have 8 minutes until open time, and so we do have one item of new business. It's a discussion regarding the Theodore Wirth Regional Trail Parking and Micromobility Study. So we could go ahead and start that.
President Abeni, Commissioners, my primary role here tonight is to introduce Lance Bernard of TC2. So he will be up in just a moment on this topic. I think that during the course of the first 3 years of your term, of this term, some of you have been obviously terms before that, I think every commissioner on this board has had a conversation with me at one time or another about the parking at Theodore Wirth Park. I think that some of you more intense conversations, and I appreciate that. And this study actually came in part, I think, because of all of the conversations around parking at Theodore Wirth Park, but it also came specifically because Commissioner Alper had suggested that we write a TDM grant a few years ago and to pursue some grant funding to help think about the parking in this area a little bit differently. As we got into it and we engaged with Lance, one of the things we realized is we needed some baseline information to be able to really be effective in some of that grant writing. And so this is what we would almost think as a precursor to maybe future grant opportunities in this category. I think you'll enjoy hearing not only the winter, which we hear a lot about, but also the summer components. And so before Lance comes up, I also want to give Michael Jones a shout out. Michael Jones has been the project manager and planning on this particular project and has done just an exceptional job. All right.
Well, thank
Welcome.
you. Thank you. Thank you, President Benny and Commissioners. So it's a pleasure to be in front of you tonight. I think Jennifer did a great job of just kind of giving you a summary of how this project got initiated and the goals that we really wanted to accomplish with this study. So we did provide you a lot of information in this presentation. We're going to kind of skip over a number of those slides, but we intentionally wanted you to have a lot of the information we collected so you can kind of think through that a little bit more, as this will always be probably an ongoing conversation, as parking is something you always have to continually to manage and think about on a daily basis. So we really wanted to set that foundation of understanding what the existing conditions are and really start to think about some of those tangible solutions to manage parking today, but also thinking long-term into the future. In addition to that, we also wanted to do a survey of just how people are experiencing the park from a parking perspective. So we'll touch a little bit on the questionnaire that we launched as part of this effort as well. But overall, as we entered into this study, we really wanted to think about this kind of from a holistic standpoint, a district-wide perspective, and just really how parking is working throughout the entire system as well. So as I mentioned before, we really wanted to kind of gauge the park users and really better understand how they experience parking and moving throughout the park. So we did this in the summer months and also in the winter months, so we could capture different types of users of the park. From our perspective, we had really great response, a lot of great information that came from those who participated. So we had about 750 people in the summer and the winter months that contributed their thoughts and answered some questions about the park. We're not going to go through all of those results. There are some snapshots of kind of what we learned. We'll touch on them briefly throughout the presentation, but one kind of thing that kind of stood out to us that I think staff and others had a lot of interest in, where do people live and who is accessing the park? So those who participated in the questionnaire answered where they live by zip code, and on this map you can see a snapshot of where those participants live, primarily within the park, but then you can see the numbers representing those in other zip code districts. So really a good kind of smattering of users throughout the region and beyond that visit the park. So we have some snapshots of kind of demographic data behind those who participated, how people access the park. More people are accessing the park in the winter by car, while summer makes it a little more comfortable to walk or bike to the park as well. So just kind of some highlights there, and then just some other information on how people are using the park, and really kind of a broad spectrum of park users throughout, the golf course, the trailhead, Worth Beach, and the pavilion as well. What we were really interested in finding out is just really how satisfied people are with the current parking situation, knowing that a lot of people rely on parking to access and to get to the park. And there's certainly areas for improvement, and we can look a little bit more closer at how they were responding to some of those areas where they felt dissatisfied with the current situation throughout the park. So more information in there about the questionnaire that you kind of can glean from and learn a little bit more. But really the heart of our study was really doing the parking utilization counts, really understanding how many cars are being parked in a certain location during different periods of time of the day and different days of the week. So we did a number of different counts in the summer and the winter. And what we're really trying to understand is when we hit those choke points, and that we know that demand kind of fluctuates on a seasonal basis and certainly are driven by events and activities within the park. And we're really trying to better understand when we're starting to reach certain thresholds where we need to start to address things and think about solutions to manage parking. So we did these counts in all possible locations where people could legally park. So we were looking at the chalet, the trailhead. We were looking at the overflow lot north of the golf course in the winter. We were looking at everything happening around Worth Beach and the pavilion, the boat launch. We were also looking at summertime use and the Butler Garden and at the Quakin Bogs as well. So collected a lot of really good data, but again, kind of noting that this is a snapshot in time. So we were kind of also able to supplement that with a lot of the expertise by staff that live and breathe kind of the parking situation throughout the year. So a little bit more information on the days of the week and times that we collected during the summer. Also again in the winter. We will note that during the winter counts, we kind of had the good and the bad that happened. The good is we got a lot of snow one of those days, and so we saw a lot of people using the park the next day, skiing that Saturday. But it may have impacted some of the users trying to access that park, especially like the high school students that typically visit that park in the kind of weekday period. But we factored a lot of that into our overall findings. So,
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
Before you go on to this, we do come up, I should have mentioned when you came up, we have an open time that's a time certain thing. So we'll pause your presentation and come back when we're done with our open time comments.
Okay.
So
Okay,
if you
great.
just want to take a seat, and
Yep.
we'll call you back up in a minute here. So I'm going to go ahead and read the open time rules. Thanks to those of you who have come to speak during tonight's open time. The board's open time rules are as follows. I will call on people from the speaker list only. Names are added to the speaker list by calling in before 3 p.m. on the day of the meeting or by adding it in person at the board meeting before 5:30 p.m. The time allotted for all speakers shall not exceed 15 minutes, and as soon as I know how many speakers there are, I will allocate time. This is an opportunity for you to address the board. We are listening, but we will not respond. That's important. That said, please don't hesitate to contact any of the commissioners for dialogue and further discussion. To protect the privacy of individuals, please refrain from commenting on specific personnel issues or pending litigation. Discriminatory or harassing words directed at anyone will not be tolerated. Each speaker is asked to state their name and address or where they live. And the list is coming my way. Okay, thank you. We have 11 speakers, so I'll do 1.5 minutes per speaker. And with that, I'll call first Sally Dale and then Patience Queso.
Hello, I'm Sally Dale. I live at 25th and Aldridge in South Minneapolis. I am a senior citizen who does not play pickleball. I am here to thank you for voting yes to the resolution 2025-93, which opens a way to bring the gardens back to Siouxline Community Garden. That's my park. It's the park in my neighborhood where I go to catch my breath and relax. I wish I were there right now. I would like to use my time to offer a few public words of gratitude. First, to Assistant Superintendent Michael Schroeder, who guides the development and land management of over 7,000 acres and yet never stopped working on a solution for our community green space. He truly understands what our neighborhood cherishes. I want to thank Colleen O'Dell, who has endlessly listened, planned, listened some more, adjusted. For 4 long years, she has kept an open line of communication with us. And finally, a sincere, heartfelt gratitude for our Commissioner, Elizabeth Schaefer, who you have all experienced, her tenacious advocacy for her constituents. Thank you. To each one of you who took your own time to listen, to visit, to share your ideas, we are so grateful. The goldfinches have arrived in the garden and we're ready to arrive there as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Patience Queso, and then Christine Armbruster.
Hi there, I'm Patience Caso. I live at I live now on 32nd Avenue South, so a different district, but I am a Siouxline gardener. Thank you so much for your support of Siouxline Community Garden. Each one of you has given your ear and your time on this issue, and we really appreciate it. Thank you also to Michael Schroeder and Colleen O'Dell for their work to get a remedy in place. We really appreciate that as well. Partial remediation is a great first step toward reestablishing Siouxline Garden. We are eager for your approval for a final design at some time very soon, and we're eager to find funds to complete the remediation too. But for now, we're so thankful because the immediate need is really to get people back in the garden, be in the space, grow the food, get the kids in there again, and it's really not a place to do that right now. Despite the challenges that we've faced, a lot of wonderful community building has happened. We're gardening at Whittier Park and over at 28th and Pillsbury. We have a community garden too. We've been able to meet and engage even more residents, even more kids, and our gardeners, despite the challenges, have really dug in and have not only made do with what was available in the neighborhood, they've built really amazing new garden and green spaces on land that was otherwise idle. So even though we've experienced some heartbreak and some loss, we've been really bolstered by the community's enthusiasm and all of your support. And getting back into Siouxline Community Garden will mean so much to so many people. I know it will fill a hole in my heart. So thank you again for your support throughout this project.
Thank you. Christine Armbruster, followed by Matthew Hendricks. Not here. Matthew Hendricks, followed by Tom Beers.
Good evening. My name is Matthew Hendricks. I live at 2114 29th Avenue, and I'm here to speak in favor of the ice rinks at Matthews Park. My understanding is that they are slated for elimination starting next year due to budget constraints, and I want to advocate for keeping them in if at all possible. One of my motivations is that both of my children learned to skate at the Matthews Park ice rinks. One of them is at baseball practice right now, trying to keep up with Commissioner Mentz's son in the long run. And the other one is here in the room. The cut of those ice rinks, it seems like a decision that was made without sufficient public engagement or community engagement. And it seems to be perhaps arbitrary and not looking at key data points. For example, there is a Rec Plus program that's adjacent to this park, and the Rec Plus participants use the rinks extensively throughout the season. There's also a school adjacent to this park, and the school has programs that use the ice rinks and family gatherings that use the ice rinks. The rinks are also walking distance from many people, so it's really a neighborhood gathering point all winter long, and just becomes a really great place for community. There are people I meet on the sidewalk in the summer who I know because of the ice rinks in the winter. I'll stop there. Thanks.
Thank you. Tom Beers, followed by Rita Doucette.
Hello, my name is Tom Beer. I live at 2423 29th Avenue South in the 3rd Park Board District. Rita Doucette will not be speaking tonight, just a note. I'm also here to speak for my daughter, who is with her 5-year-old tonight at a swimming lesson. Last winter, she was often in the park with a 5-year-old in a skating lesson. And my daughter, whose name is Elena West, had this to say in commenting on the need to keep that park ice rink open, that she thinks there are many reasons to do that, but one of the most important for her is the equity piece. Seward Montessori and the Rec Plus program right there mean that the rink is accessible to lots of people. I've noted that we've lived in our house 40 years right across. We have 3 generations living in that household now. And I've noted in the last number of years that we've had another kind of generational turnover in the blocks around us. We have more little kids, more teenagers, more people using the park and the ice rink. Last winter, while I'm not skating anymore, I entertained myself by watching the pickup hockey games and the fathers and mothers with their little kids, teaching them how to skate in the rink across the street. That rink has been there as long as we have been there in the house, and we hope it can be maintained. Thank you.
Thank you. So I will not call on Rita Doucette. Okay, Bill Mears, followed by Noel Hendricks.
Hi, I'm Bill Mears. I live at 2429 30th Avenue South. I use that park all the time, and I enjoy skating. I meet more people skating at that rink than probably any other activity that I do in my life. And there's a lot of new families that come there too. And whereas we're in a terrible position because the rinks, they don't stay open very long, they melt right away. Who knows? Sometimes I give up on winter. And I think maybe we do need a different plan. I know that speaks against what other people are saying, but instead of closing the rink, if we have to do something, let's experiment. Let's try making a smaller rink, maybe just having a hockey rink, maybe putting liners down. Let's try different things. We're in a terrible position. These resources are being wasted, but the ice rink, it sounds like a great idea to just have a couple ice rinks, but what's the whole idea of having a neighborhood if you don't have a neighborhood ice rink? I mean, we need neighborhood parks. So little money is spent at Seward for what we get. That park is inundated with kids. Everybody, all these people coming up, new families, and hardly anything gets spent. That park is not being kept up at all. At least let us keep our rink. Thank you.
Thank you. Noel Hendricks, followed by Craig Carlin.
Hi, I'm Noelle. I also live at 2114 29th Avenue. Matthew's my dad, and he's put together a petition with over 750 signatures in support of keeping the rink open. And I've been just so lucky to grow up a block away from the Matthews ice rink. I've spent countless hours falling down, getting back up, complaining that my feet hurt, practicing my crossovers, finally scoring a goal, telling my dad that I really feel so much faster than last year. And like he mentioned, my brother also learned to skate there, and he's played for the park hockey teams around Minneapolis for the past several years, and it's also really a privilege to watch him play. I love being a spectator. I always feel at home on the ice rink. One of my favorite memories is just skating laps and laps and laps around the rink one evening and watching the most beautiful sunset behind the trees at Matthews and reflected in the ice. And I just really like the kids in the neighborhood now to be able to share those same experiences. So thank you.
Thank you. Craig Carlin, followed by Mitchell Hansen.
Thank you, folks. My name is Craig Carlin. I live at 2745 42nd Avenue South, which is right by Brackett Park, but I'm also a parent of two boys who are Seward graduates in Anderson and South High School, and I've been a hockey coach at Hiawatha for 10 years now. Thank you to everybody in the room and anywhere else who was able to add 18U hockey 4 years ago. It has been awesome. And it's in the bigger picture. I hope everyone here realizes how special park board hockey is in Minneapolis. There's nothing else like it anywhere. At the older levels, there are only 3 parks that consistently have programs: Hiawatha, North, and Pearl. But each of these programs have 50 to 100 kids, and that's just not enough space. So even though I've been a Hiawatha coach for that long, my own teams haven't practiced at Hiawatha since before COVID. We practiced at Longfellow, we practiced at Matthews. So along with everything my predecessors have said, including where I met Bill, Matthews Park has been a vital part of Hiawatha hockey, even though I'm wearing the Hiawatha hat, for everything that they've said about Seward being there, the Rec Plus program, and another resource for one of the very few teen rec affordable hockey programs anywhere outdoors. Please, please keep Matthews Rink. We really would appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. Mitchell Hansen, followed by Mark Scaly.
Hi, Mitchell Hansen, North Minneapolis. So I don't like having to do this. Just speaking truth, I don't actually enjoy this, contrary to what you may believe, but sometimes things just have to be said. Commissioner Thompson, I just want to ask you one question. What's the desired amount of melanin for a kid that wants to join a youth sports league within MPRB system? Are you suggesting that we start addressing people's credentials based upon their skin color? You've invited racism and hate, which has flooded comment boards, all in support of your hate.
Okay, that gets a little close to harassing words, so can you just be a little bit
It's
more moderate?
actually factual.
That may be, but the hate piece, so just watch it a little bit.
Well, it's hate
Just
that-
watch it a little bit.
Thanks. I assure you that you have the desired amount of melanin in Minneapolis for the elites and affluent stakeholders that you desire to please. You've used your votes to enshrine white history and culture into the fabric of our city, ignoring the pain that it causes to our indigenous residents and doing it all with a smirk on your face. Am I still okay?
Yeah, you're borderline.
Okay. We've had wonderful and enjoyable collaboration with MPRB staff who have demonstrated integrity, kindness. They've showed up for us. You haven't. Honestly, just our kids deserve better than this. To have to explain this to them, I'd explain this to my stepdaughter what melanin was. This is ridiculous. Land back, end racism. Thank you for letting me speak.
Mark Scally.
I forgot that I'd signed up for this. I'm Mark Scally. I live at 2950 Dean Parkway in Minneapolis. 2 things. One, I was just recently named the president of the Friends of Loring Park. It's amazing how popular you can be when there's no one running against you. And secondly, a thank you to Chief Otto and all they do to keep our parks safe. Thank you.
Thank you. And did Christine Armbruster come into the room? No. Okay. And with that, I will go ahead and close open time. Mr. Bernard, do you want to come back up and take off where you left us? Thank you.
Thank you, President Benny and Commissioners. What I wanted to just kind of highlight here and maybe first note that, again, we have a fair amount of information in here that we don't intend to cover slide for slide, but just to hit on some of the key high points of some of our findings. And so there's a lot of data in here on just how we were capturing parking utilization throughout the system. We broke this out by different parking lots and different parking facilities throughout the system to give a better picture of what's happening during those various times and days of the week. And then we've paired that a little bit more and digging deep with the questionnaire results to kind of see that comparison of what's happening from a parking perspective and then also from the parking satisfaction. So a lot of good information in there for us to kind of chew on and think about. And when we really reflect on what we collected during the summer months, the biggest choke point that we really saw was happening at Worth Beach House. There was a lot of overlap of programming and events happening. Particularly in one case, Thursday night, you had a lot of stuff going on at the pavilion, volleyball tournaments that really drove up parking demand, where people were parking on the street, finding any opportunity they could park, whether it was marked no parking or not. Another kind of case in point with summer now back up and more events happening, same kind of field observations were made last weekend. On Saturday, similar thing happening, volleyball tournaments, lots of events, so parking was really at its peak and overparked. So we really see some opportunities to really kind of figure out how to best manage parking at the Worth Beach House and around the pavilion as well. So outside of that, things were kind of operating at a fairly normal rates, a couple little peaks and valleys with the utilization throughout the summer. But what we really want to kind of emphasize again here is just the amount of need to really kind of think about the event and programming that's happening around throughout the park to make sure we manage those peak periods. Jumping into the winter, I was out there collecting counts during the snowstorm on my bike, so that was kind of fun. But as I mentioned before, that may have kind of influenced some of our parking counts during that Thursday time period. So we've kind of factored that in to really better understand really what's happening during some of those weekday periods. But with all that fresh snow, was the good news is we really got to capture kind of that really peak time when people are out there chasing all that powder. And that's when we really saw a lot of parking concerns and issues happening on that Saturday period, starting in the morning and going through the afternoon hours. That's where we really had things overparked at the chalet, at the trailhead, and then the overflow parking was also starting to max out at that period of time as well. And so a lot of those findings are really reflected in some of the parking satisfaction questions we asked participants. So we can certainly reflect and kind of get a little bit more into that data if we will, but there are certainly some opportunities to improve the trailhead and near the golf course during those winter months where we're seeing a lot of activity happening. But that is also kind of dependent on weather, right? You know, when we have good snow, that's when a lot of people are coming out and really using the park at its fullest. So that really kind of got a lot of conversations going amongst staff and other people that were within our kind of small PMT about just thinking about how we might smooth out some of the kind of the skiing in other parts of the park. Maybe we try to encourage more people to kind of park at Worth Beach and maximize some of the skiing opportunities in that area. Without kind of rambling on too much, we've kind of thought really critically through that data, worked with staff of really trying to figure out what are the right solutions to manage parking through the summer and the winter months, and really kind of reflecting on some of the past stuff and things that have been recommended in the master plan as well, that has called for some opportunities to look at parking needs within the system. So we've really worked through kind of more of a framework and a schedule to lay out some of those ideas to kind of guide you as commissioners and staff on where we might want to go to kind of address some of these parking needs. And a lot of these strategies and solutions have to work hand in hand. There isn't one specific thing that you're gonna do to help address everything at once. There's little things that can happen and other things that need to work in tandem to smooth out parking. So we've laid out this framework to look at those small steps of what you could start working on now in 2025 and looking out the next 5 years and how some of those strategies actually align with some potential funding opportunities as well. So at a high level, we've looked at kind of how we smooth out some of that programming, how we start to look at Glenwood Avenue and coordinating with Hennepin County and how we address some of the on-street parking issues along that stretch of road as well. Looking at ways to formalize that overflow parking lot near the golf course during the winter months. And then really just trying to embrace a lot of travel demand management strategies that we've talked through on doing small things to kind of educate people on where they can park and how we kind of manage things a little bit more collectively as a group. So I will leave it there and happy to open it up for any kind of questions or discussion.
Thank you. So are there questions? I see Commissioner Menz.
Sometimes I'm a little hesitant to ask questions around this stuff, but I think it's really important. What you've done is really excellent. This is a really excellent way of looking at how that parking is being managed at Worth Park. Figuring out this system-wide, I'm very interested in how we're going to manage parking. So looking at this chart, in the master plan, there's places to add 96 spaces. Can you just kind of review, explain that to me again?
Yes, President Benny and Commissioner Mentz. So in the master plan calls out the need for 96 spaces. As we kind of revisited that, we wanted to better understand what you possibly really need to address some of those parking demand needs there as well. And kind of coincidentally enough, our numbers kind of shook out to that same amount of number of a 96 space need. So when we reflect at how much parking is being needed in that area and all the over parking kind of netted out to that similar number. So we would suggest you continue to move down that path of looking at adding additional parking spaces as the master plan recommended back in 2015. But keep in mind, I think the one thing I want to note too is we tend to not make that as the first recommendation, is to just automatically build more parking, that we think there's some other opportunities to manage things first before you jump to that conclusion of adding more parking spaces. So that gets back to some of the travel demand management strategies, trying to figure out better ways to alleviate all of the overlap of programming and events that are happening there that we think that is causing a lot of that parking demand and causing that pressure.
That's great. And remind me, we don't charge it at Worth Park for parking in any place?
Correct.
And so will that be part of the thought process around maybe certain lots or pay lots?
Yeah, President Benny and Commissioner Mentz, we have talked about that. Paid parking does obviously come up as part of that conversation. So right now, there are no spaces. I should back up and say there is paid parking at the Quaking Bogs. So we have talked about what it would mean to implement paid parking in other parts of the system, particularly looking at the trailhead, but that would have to come with some other kind of push and pull of discussions of what that means, and how to best implement that as well.
Because of cost to consumers? Is that the feeling that's
Correct.
happening?
Yeah. Yep. So President Benny and Commissioner Mentz, yes. So we've talked internally about what that means to the cost for the user, and what that would mean to, say, some of the first-time users that are visiting the park and would love to ski for the first time, and trying to make sure that they have adequate access and free parking versus, say, somebody that's frequently there on a regular basis. So we've thought through that a little bit more of if we have paid parking at the trailhead, could that help kind of push the demand to, say, some of the other lots? Because that is really the primary space that everybody's attracted to. They want that front door parking as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can't speak for my colleagues, but I think that implementing places where we charge for parking, and parking is not, I don't think it's necessarily a nickel and diming thing. I mean, people are choosing to use gas or get to the park in some way. Maybe we can have parking passes for people who are gonna frequent the park that way. But I'm really impressed with the work, and it was really fortunate that we got good survey data. I think that sometimes when we get survey data, we're getting not necessarily the real data, and this feels like we know when the time periods are raised. And I'd love to see us do more of these around the system, because I think, you know, getting accurate counts in certain parks, figuring out where the most parking is used, because we don't want to add spaces all the time. Maybe we can reduce the amount of people who choose to drive to the park by making our parking rates a little bit higher, or making it a little bit less convenient to do that. Not taking into account the accessibility issues for people with disabilities. I know that we have to provide that, but just, I don't think we should be, and I don't think the board, we should be afraid to charge for parking in our system to make sure that we encourage people to not drive to the parks and reduce that 64% and 82% number, not only at Worth, but other places.
Thank you. Vice President Musich.
Thank you, President Benny. There is one other place that we charge for parking, Eloise Butler. Wildflower Garden also charges for parking. And I think that is it is sort of a barrier for people in that location. So a lot of kids are experiencing that space for the first time on a tour, rather than maybe their parents taking them there. If they couldn't easily park there, they may choose to go to the beach or hang out at the trailhead instead. So I think we need to be cautious when we're thinking about charging for parking in the parks, because a lot of our visitors are families, and families, it's harder for them maybe to, you know, wrangle everyone together to ride a bike, or even have bikes for the whole family to get there. So I'm not totally closed-minded to the thought of charging for parking, but I do think we need to be cautious about where we're doing it and the potential negative impacts it may have. What I was actually curious to ask about was, when you talk about the prioritization of these items, what's driving what you're pushing us to implement first? Is it that we might have funding for it currently, or it's easier to do, or some things are going to require other pieces to happen before them? And if so, is that part of this flow chart demonstrating that to us?
Yeah, President Benny and Vice President Musich. Yeah, we really thought about the priorities and the things that made the most sense to kind of focus on here in this chart. And some of it is kind of being driven by the funding, because originally, as Jennifer mentioned, that, you know, there's opportunities to secure regional solicitation funding. There are grant opportunities that could fund some of the travel demand management strategies that we're thinking about. So we're really trying to set the stage for some of those things that could be eligible for that funding, particularly looking at wayfinding, looking at possibly you could hire staff to be a TDM kind of parking manager to think about all the mobility options in the area. So that's one possibility for those grant funds. So yeah, we were really trying to lay out things that were tangible to kind of work towards and assess a little bit more over the next couple years.
Okay, great, thank you.
Commissioner Alper.
Thank you, President Benny. It's great to see the results of this study. So I just want to thank staff for putting the hard work into making this happen, and appreciate you coming here tonight to share the results. I think it's really great that we're kind of reframing this what at first seemed to be a parking problem, but that we're looking at it more broadly in terms of transportation and mobility, because I really think that's what this is about. It's more than parking at this place. I obviously work in the transportation sector and have done a fair amount of work around parking and transportation, and something that I saw that really struck me from UC Santa Cruz was that in their transportation and mobility plan is that they described three things that people want with parking. They want it to be available, they want it to be convenient, and they want it to be free. And they said you can only have 2 out of 3 of those things. So, and I think that's where we come in, where we have to make some choices and some hard choices and manage what we have and think about our great goals that are on the wall here before us. And so I'm personally, I think Worth is such a fabulous green space within our city. It would be so sad to create more hardscaped area. You know, what trees are we going to have to take down? What native plants are we going to have to remove? So I really, really hope that we can really explore other techniques and strategies first. Regarding the regional solicitation funds and the TDM category, I just want to let my fellow commissioners know that parking is not an eligible expense in the TDM category. So it's really, whatever we do or explore has to be, it has to be something else, which is great because there are so many options here before us. And it also, just to note that we can't do more study of the issue. It has to be implementation focused or a pilot or that sort of thing. So I just want you to keep that in mind. It's great to see these TDM strategies before us. One thing I would mention is that, just a suggestion is that I know Metro Transit can be a very willing partner, especially with bus passes and pilot programs, and so considering that adding that on the TDM strategy list could be really great. And also, there's another category for transit expansion, because I think that's a big issue at the park, that there just isn't enough transit available for people who might take transit to the park or to make it worthwhile. And so perhaps that is something to explore in tandem with Metro Transit to do a expansion grant for the number 7 bus.
Thank you. Commissioner Forney.
Thank you, President Benny. And thank you so much, Lance. It's really meaty stuff. I have to tell you, I'm either a linguistic or vocabulary person. I always get, whatever, overparked in the parks. Anyway, it just, whatever. We have parkways that we don't park on, but we don't drive on driveways. Anyway, it's always bugged the heck out of me. And I'm just curious, I don't know if anybody can answer this question, but I thought we were no longer using master. Is that still appearing? Anyway, I just, like I say, 2 linguistic things. Okay. So I don't know if I missed it, but was there information about the usage, particularly at the trailhead of the bus? I know there's been some controversy about them parked in front of it, and anyway, so did you do any study about the park, the bus that goes into the trailhead?
President Benny and Commissioner Forney, no, we did not. We did not look specifically at any issues with the bus service at the park, but yeah.
I just think that it's such a bonus, that I'm not sure that most people are aware that, that's the easiest transportation possible is, taking the bus to the trailhead, which is also to the LA.
President Benny and Commissioner Forney, I should back up and say, we did talk a lot about how transit can be a part of the solution here. So the things that even Commissioner Alper brought up, we were talking a lot about like transit passes and incentives to get people on buses. So those were some of the things we were exploring, but didn't dive too deep into any exact issues with the service today.
I mean, to me, that's just such a bonus at that place of all places. Anyway, and then I'm just curious. I was at Eloise recently, and I didn't find anything about where we could pay at a kiosk. Is Eloise still Eloise is no longer paid parking.
President Benny, Commissioner Forney, yes, that has been changed. It's no longer a paid parking.
Okay, that's what I thought I heard. And I just want to put a huge, huge advertisement. The parking permit that we have is the best damn deal. I'm not kidding you. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. I give it as Christmas presents every year to my friends. And I have to tell you, it came as a result of getting a ticket and finding out, hey, instead of paying the ticket, buy a parking permit. And it's a wonderful thing, and I just hope that we would boast that more, for everybody. So thank you for the report.
Deputy Superintendent Ringgold, do you have something to say?
President Benny, thank you. Commissioner Forney, you are correct. We have had a lot of conversations with Metro Transit about the bus service to the trailhead, and they have been very accommodating to kind of reconsider some of their layovers and how that would interact with drop-off of programs and things like that. So we're appreciative of that. and also do anticipate that we'll be bringing forward, hopefully in the near future, the body of work that has to happen to allow the buses to actually be on the parkway. So stay tuned on that. The other piece that has been really encouraging, and we get reports from the trailhead, is that Worth Park is part of the micromobility program where they're actually using more of a on-demand bus service, and that has shown to be perhaps more productive in terms of bringing folks to the trailhead than the actual bus service.
Well, that sounds intriguing, so I'll go to Commissioner Olson next.
Yeah, that's actually hits on exactly what I was going to kind of speak on. You know, the micromobility, I think, is a good opportunity for this because it is kind of seasonal. It is kind of specific to certain events and certain times. And I mean, you know, I'm a big transit user, but, you know, transit would probably be my last option to try to get to Worth Park because it's just, there are no stops near there. There's just, it's devoid. It's a desert of that. So it's just not, unless we have enough evidence of creating something. I know Metro Transit is so strained within their system as is that it would really have to be compelling for them to create like a whole new bus line or something like that. And, you know, we saw how people are getting there and it's coming from all over the place. So kind of to it, I do think the kind of the shuttle idea is compelling to me, especially seeing that, you know, maybe golf is not as much as a utilization of the kind of trailhead parking as maybe thought, and so we can maybe direct people there and kind of have it just kind of go around. So I'd kind of like to explore that, see what that cost would be, because to kind of underscore Commissioner Alper's point, you know, we really don't want to create more hardscape. I know we all kind of go back and forth on this, and I think that's something that we can agree on, and if we can avoid that, great. If not, then let's see how, you know, we can do it as unpainfully as possible. So yeah, just kind of underlining those, and I'm excited to move forward on this. And one thing I'm kind of ignorant on this around, you know, skiing and trailhead. Do we have like paid storage or free storage for like skis or equipment and things of that nature? And is that something that people utilize? I know, like, if you're a skier, you probably want to bring your skis home or whatever, but it's just a thought that I kind of had. If it's, you know, if we created, if that at all came up in the study, if that is something that could be appealing, of like, oh, if I can, you know, drive here one time, leave my skis, or have some sort of way to, you know, rent skis or something like that, then I can bike next time. Then I can take the shuttle next time that we develop, or, you know, something like that. Did that come up? Is that, you know?
Yeah, President Benny and Commissioner Olson, we did not talk too much about that as a strategy, but that is something that could be more of a TDM strategy. So it does fit in kind of a solution to provide more amenities for park users to store things and not necessarily have to drive every time. So case in point, it's really hard to take your golf clubs on the bus or your skis. So if there's a place to store, then it might open up more opportunities for people to use other modes of transportation.
Yeah, definitely. I think finding some creative solutions like that could be helpful. And then within that, I don't know everything that the LOPIT is doing, but you know, if that can then also create access, perhaps if we have this equipment stored on location for, you know, folks in the region, in the area, who aren't able to utilize it due to costs, due to these other sort of barriers of potentially bringing other folks in, and increasing that, you know, diversity and use of the space, which, you know, looking at the brief stats that we saw, it looked like maybe it's not optimal at this point. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to stick with the order we have, so I'm going to go to Commissioner Menz next.
Thanks. I know I got only a little bit of time here. So I think we could create a new division. Maybe we could have a public-private partnership. We could start a new version, Uber Recreation, like personal vehicles who need stuff to bring, because this presents a unique problem. We don't. I mean, we're probably going to charge for storage if we let people store things there. So what are we going to charge for? So I think that finding out solutions for that. But the one thing I wanted to ask, did this presentation, this wasn't in our materials, right? Can we get this sent to us? Oh, it is in the attachments. Okay, thank you very much.
Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I have been looking forward to information about this for a while. I will say, as the Northside Commissioner, Worth in general and the parking issues are challenging, and they are much discussed. The bus is not, it's an optical illusion. It looks nice on paper. Nobody actually uses it. It's incredibly challenging to, I shouldn't say nobody. Few people use it. What I have discovered when I have been there, this is my own anecdotal, but also talking to people at the Loppet, it's challenging to bring golf clubs and/or cross-country skis and/or a mountain bike on the bus that runs exclusively through the north side. So that's the bus that's there. Commissioner Rucker would know the number. I forget it. You know it better than I do, because I would love to hear. Let me finish, and then I would love to hear, because you drove that, right? Yeah. So I did want to throw that caveat out into the ethos as we're discussing, nothing like a public brainstorming session. They are, right. I don't know, even as I'm staring at this flow chart, I'm like, oh, well, how would people react to that? How would that end up going there? I would agree with the commissioners that say no more, hard space. And I would love less, but I also know that this is very packed all the time. In the different data collection, did you ever make any projections financially of what could be taken in, or is this like a next step in terms of charging for parking? Like the different options of putting some hourly thing or seasonal thing like at the lakes, or parking passes, like what the different options would do. I think that's would be, in my opinion, that would be a good next step. And then trying to see, I know Commissioner Rucker has amazing data on the bus that I don't have, how that would intersect to try to alleviate those choke points. I'll just say, as the person who's represented this area, there have been times I'd try to take meetings at the trailhead and be like, yeah, I'll just meet you at the trailhead. Nope. I'm going to be late. I can't find parking. So I thank you for this, and I don't have a solution, but I really appreciate all the information. I know it sounds fun to count cars in a snowstorm on your bike. It's kind of fun. Sounds fun.
Commissioner Rucker.
Yeah, I'll speak on the buses that lay over at Loppet and at Chalet. I drove the 20 line for 12 years, but we do have a lot of people that's using that line that lives in right off of Plymouth, right there at the intersection of Plymouth and Xerxes. Going eastbound, a lot of people, get on that on the bus. But with that being said, now they're using electric buses on that line for the number 7. So when they're going up to Loppet, it's electric buses. When they go to Chalet, it's electric buses throughout the system. But yeah, it's a residential area, east of there, so there's a lot of people that use that. It's a, great area for a layover. That's where the bus drivers, get off, use the restroom, and then they go back south. With that being said, I talked to a few people, golfers and people that utilize Loppet. They still want free parking. I don't know if staff can tell us that if, with the fees for golfing, is parking some type of way, interjected into their fee or not, but maybe we can do that as well. But there's a lot of people that park there and they love it being free. So, thanks.
Yep.
Deputy Superintendent Ringgold.
President Benny and Commissioner Rucker, the golf throughout the system currently, all the locations have free parking. So as we have considered adding parking fees in at Worth, one of the things we've talked a lot about is whether or not we can provide for those who are golfers like a parking voucher. So they might pay, but they would be then able to get a reimbursement for that parking. So there would be probably multiple categories where staff at either the park system or at the Loppet want to didn't mean to use that word, want to encourage usership in categories where we wouldn't want to charge fees, and so there would be probably some type of a mixed approach to providing waivers.
Thank you for adding that. I don't see other questions. I'll say that I heard you, thank you for the work and the presentation. Thanks for the work by the team here. I think that I heard you say there's some maybe low-hanging fruit looking at scheduling of programming times. This is clearly weather dependent in many ways. When you're seeing the peak opportunities, everybody's going to have the same idea. I think I can ski today, right? So I think that, I think maybe more to do here, but it may also just be an area that experiences congestion, and I guess I would want to know really how many days a year is it untenable, I think. And if it's 10, maybe 10 is what it is. If it's 100, that's probably bad. So anyway, okay, well, thank you so much for your presentation. And we'll move to the next part of the agenda, which is petitions and communications, and I'll start with Commissioner Alper tonight.
I just would like to say thank you to all the District 3 neighbors who came out to talk about Matthews Park and the importance of the ice rink there. And I think it really speaks to the importance of ice skating throughout our system, and I really am excited to see us do a thorough evaluation going into next winter. It's not too early to already start talking about next winter here. To make sure that we are applying all our wonderful engagement policy principles, our doctrines, really, that we use to make really good decisions about which ranks, if we truly, I know it's going to be a tough budget year, which ranks we might minimize, how we might minimize disruption to the community, think creatively and outside the box. I know that St. Paul uses, often has volunteers who maintain ice rinks. Is that something we could do in our system as well? I would think so. So that's a big thing, and I would just show this. I don't know if anybody else got a card, but I got a picture from Heather and Murray Cousins, who's 7 months old, ice skating. So I just want to share that. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Schaefer.
Yeah, since we're talking about ice skating, I'll just tag on to it. I would love to hear an update, if we can, at our budget meeting next week around this particular topic, so we don't have to continue fielding questions from the community all summer long, because I think that shows respect. If we can get a sense of a general direction and hear a little bit about that next week, I'd really appreciate that. Secondly, we had a water quality meeting scheduled for Cedar, the Channel, and Isles on Tuesday, but with the rain, it was canceled, so we'll get a rescheduled date with staff on that. Thank you for staff's flexibility on that. And then I guess the final question, or final comment, is just very sad to see this news that Graco will be exiting Minneapolis after 80 years. Plans to build new headquarters in the Northwest Metro. So obviously that's right next to our new Graco Park. And I'm not sure, if we have funding to buy another piece of industrial property. But this is sobering. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Menz.
Thank you. I just wanted to really highlight, I really appreciate hearing the Matthews folks come out, because as you know, my community came out right away, and the rinks are so important to these communities, and it's really refreshing when people come and they share their stories, and it really makes an impact on us, because we don't live in each of these neighborhoods, but we can understand and we can kind of get a feel for what things mean to people. I also wanted to highlight and say, reiterate, Superintendent Bangura, I get a lot of connection to coaches, being in the high schools and, just being in the system for so long, making sure that this change is hard. Go out and see a RBI baseball game or softball game this summer. I would encourage all of you to do that. I think that making sure that this new system is implemented and that people feel supported, this could be a really big change and really big improvement between the schools and the parks, and families really feeling like the park board is addressing what the reality is of youth athletics and how important it is to families. So please, I encourage you as the season goes on, check it out. I know that a group that I'm associated with, we do a all-star celebration at the end of the 12U season. Hopefully that'll be something pretty cool with the Twins in coordination with the parks around, making sure the MLB pitch hit run. So we do that in July 19th. It's my birthday too. But yeah, talking to a lot of coaches, which are in my neighborhood and then others around the city, make sure that we're supporting those coaches this year. This change can be hard on them too. Some of their players that they've had for years, they might not have. It's confusing, it's different, it's implementation science. We're gonna go through these hiccups, but how do we make sure that we're supporting the folks that are really important to this piece? And just don't forget about the coaches and how much they play a role in how these families and these micro communities are developed. So, and I know that the recreation department is considering those things and making sure that that happens, because it is paramount to the success of local communities. Also, that's it. See you guys later. See you next week.
Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you. I actually didn't know that about Graco. I just looked it up, and that is sobering. If there was one thing I could communicate to the larger city, it's that how horrific an impact these businesses leaving our city have upon, like, the Matthews ice rink. People don't know it on the top, but when you're sitting in this chair, you see how the Plinko chips go all the way down and affect all the services when we lose a massive legacy company from our own jurisdiction. That's really sad and sobering, as Commissioner Schaefer said. What I want to talk about is I went to the volunteer appreciation, I don't know what to call it, like a gathering. I saw Commissioner Forney there, but I didn't get to chat with you until I was chatting with a bunch of people and you were gone. Same with Assistant Superintendent Barrick. But it was a really lovely time, and I'm reminded how many people just love our parks, and the people advocating for the rinks, the people advocating for the Sioux Line Community Garden, the people who advocate and tend to buckthorn, those who plant flowers, those who are out asking every day about what's going to happen with this, how can I help? It was really nice to chat with people for a while who just love our parks. Toward that end, I would like to say on the record, if any of my Northsiders are paying attention, Victory Memorial Drive is taken care of. We're making sure that it happens. And then I will say, I think we need to address ice rinks next week, and I think we've made it all clear. It started with the Northeast rink, it was Isles, now it's Matthews, we lost Weber. I know that Northsiders haven't come down here, but Weber is important, North Commons, of course. There's just a lot, and I know that we have a tight budget, but I think we're all on the same page with that. So that's all I have, thanks.
Should I call on the superintendent next? Yep, Superintendent Bangora.
Thank you, President Bang. I really appreciate this. Want to share a couple things real quickly. Good stuff, but I wanted to share Doors Open happened at the Theodore home this weekend, Saturday. We had, from 10 to 5, we had 881 people go through in one day. So it was constant. And I think the first year we had, for 2 days, we had over 700. That was 3 years ago. The second year, we had 2 days, we had 1,100, almost 1,100 people on 2 days. One day we had almost 900. So it was an amazing event. And I will say honestly that I'm always amazed how much people don't really know about the park system. We were able to share so much information. And I spoke, and my wife, gratitude towards her for spending those 7 hours with us there. But we shared a lot of information with our community. And that's really the amazing part about it, was that we're able to talk about the park system in ways that people don't really know. Sharing who our commissioners are, talking about budget, levy. I went there, and we had really good conversations about the park system, and this is their park system. And it was amazing. I want to thank you, Angela Salisbury, who was incredible. Our archivist, she was amazing. Dawn Summers, Dana Worth Sparks, who's the great granddaughter of Theodore Worth Sparks, or Theodore Worth, not Sparks, Theodore Worth. David Smith, who wrote the book on the park system, was there down in the planning room. Mark Rui, who's the son of Robert Rui from 1960s, 1978, was there. And of course, my wife. So thank you to an amazing, amazing, amazing day. It was incredible, and I'm very grateful. The other thing I want to just share too, before I do this really cool thing too, the Youth Advisory Council, which just was in this room. Jennifer and I had a really opportunity to speak to this wonderful group of young people that sat in the back room, who are part of Adrian Waters, who's part of CCBP. Our Youth Advisory Council was an amazing group of young people, and the amount of work and the things they have done is just absolutely incredible, and I will share that with you. They have touched the park system in many different ways, and I'm really grateful for them. And the really cool part was a young man that went to Edison, and he stood right next to Commissioner Menz's sign, and we took a picture of it because he goes, I didn't know my commissioner was, or my teacher was a commissioner. And he just had this such joy of standing next to your sign, Commissioner Menz, and I just wanted to share that with you. Really cool. Yeah, okay, good. And he only had good things to say, so which is great. And the last thing I want to share with you is that, of course, the 2025 Readers Poll, Best of the Twin Cities, Minnehaha Falls, place to take out-of-towners and visitors. We got the Best of the Twin Cities on that one. And we also got the Best of Twin Cities Theater Worth Golf Club, Golf Course, Public, two of the best. So we just received these, so really cool. I just wanted to share that with you, and so that's all I had to share, so thank you so much.
Thank you for that. Commissioner Forney?
Thank you. I don't know, somebody's going to have to, what should we say, take the hook to me, but I'm surprised that nobody said anything. The Trust for Public Land, votiness, or whatever. Number 3, am I not supposed to say anything?
Well, it's no, it's
I am so proud of us continuously being in the top 3. This is just such a huge thing. And I really, really appreciate Superintendent Bangor's, press release? I don't know what you would call it. Anyway, and the fact that, yes, we truly are a leader in implementing park investments based on racial equity matrix. I'm so freaking proud of that. And I really hope that the trust takes it seriously, that that is the really most powerful thing to be measuring. And I'm just so grateful for the work that we have done continuously on this effort. It's so critical. And anyway, so like I say, I was waiting for somebody to say something. But anyway, kudos. And you know, I like to embarrass people, so I'm going to take the opportunity because somebody leaked the information that Assistant Superintendent Schroeder's birthday is on Friday. Do-do-do-do. Happy birthday, Michael. And then, of course, more importantly, and the fact that she's even here, it's really exciting and everything. Happy birthday to Commissioner Musich. And if nobody minds, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Stephanie. Happy birthday to you. Woo, I did it.
Cha-cha-cha. Thanks, everybody.
I think Commissioner Forney's done. Commissioner Olson?
Pass.
Commissioner Rucker?
Yeah, with Memorial Day coming up, you know, I just want to thank staff, Jeremy Barrick and Becky Brown, for being proactive and getting everything ready for Monday. Cutting the grass, you know, just beautifying the area because our veterans deserve for that to be cut. Yeah, so yeah, they're doing great work. Like I said, staff, the workers, drove by there today. They were out there even in the drizzle starting to cut the grass. So I just wanted to thank everybody that was involved with getting it done. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Musich?
I too would like to talk about mowing. It's apparently a theme. This is the first year I've not had one neighbor call and say something to me about mowing, other than running into them in the parks and saying, "Oh, it looks really nice this spring." Like, I don't know what we did with the maps, but it seems like everyone knows all the things that should be mowed. They're getting mowed, and people are really happy about it. So I'm looking forward to seeing everyone out sunbathing and picnicking and playing lawn games in our public spaces. Now that you can do it without losing things in the tall grass. So yeah, thanks so much for that proactive work to make it a really great early spring experience for everyone. It's been especially nice for senior pictures and prom photos. I'm getting lots of prom photos in my texts. So yeah, thank you for providing this beautiful place for people to make memories. I am here with you on my birthday, and I'm feeling very privileged to be able to spend it with people I enjoyed spending time with so much. So thank you for making tonight a really pleasant meeting of conversation and the sharing of thoughts and ideas, and for wrapping it up so early. So that I might also see my family. Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Without objection, Commissioner Thompson would like a pas de deux, or whatever, part 2, so.
I just wanted to say, to thank the staff, and Commissioner Rucker said it, and to invite anybody who's paying attention in the ethos to come to the drive on Memorial Day. It is one of the most incredible things that happens. I could start crying if I think about it. It is one of my favorite things of living on the north side. I actually never go out of town anymore on Memorial Day weekend. People ask me, are you gonna go out? No, because waking up and going for a walk on the drive, it's so incredible. And that is a testament to our staff, to what has always been done there, and to my neighbors who really cherish that space. So if you haven't been there before, go on Monday if you're in town. It's incredible. Thanks. That's all I want to say. Thank you, President Benny.
Yeah, God. Okay, and I was going to bring up the number 3 spot on the, no, and so with that, I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
I've been in